Alright, some interesting news being reported by ESPN. I'll just read this here. It says Dmitry Bivol versus Dave Benavidez is close to being finalised by Matchroom and PBC this summer for Dmitry Bivol's undisputed light heavyweight world championship, as per ESPN. Bivol was ordered by the WBC to fight number one contender Benavidez earlier this week. So it looks like we're not going straight into an Artem Beterbiev trilogy, which is a little bit. It's a little bit of a head scratcher for me, and I'll explain why now in a sec. It looks like Dmitry Bivol is going straight into a mandatory defense against Dave Benavidez, which in my opinion is an absolutely brilliant fight. I think that Benavidez, I've always kind of looked at Bivol and thought, well, you see it with Beterbiev, when he really put it on Bivol, he couldn't sustain it, and I wonder if Dave Benavidez can. But you look at Dmitry Bivol and you think if someone could just offset his rhythm, it's more easier said than done. I thought Gilberto Ramirez might stand the chance of doing that. Boy, was I wrong. But if you can really offset his rhythm, make him work when he doesn't want to work, and just kind of keep imposing yourself on Bivol, you might stand. And again, Beterbiev was able to do that first time in parts in the second fight. It counted for nothing second time around. But someone like Benavidez, who's younger, who's fresher, who's just relentless, he really is. And he's a lot cuter when it comes to defense than people give him credit for. I mean, he surprised me against Dave Morrell, how well he was able to slip a lot of the punches, even up close, by Dave Morrell. That's been ordered apparently by the WBC, and it is a bit frustrating when you think about it like this, that here you have Dmitry Bivol, who's only literally just won his undisputed title at light heavyweight a couple of weeks ago. And Benavidez was, what was he? Was he interim? He was definitely mandatory with WBC at 168 pounds, and they were just unwilling, never budging. No chance we're going to call him versus Canelo as a mandatory. Not going to happen. As soon as he goes to light heavyweight, within a couple of weeks of him actually winning against Dave Morrell, and then a few weeks later, Bivol beating Beterbiev, mandatory. There you go, do it. Again, like, it's the WBC showing that it's one rule for one fighter, one rule for another fighter. It's an absolute joke. It really is. Not the fact that they've called the mandatory, not that, but the fact that they had so many opportunities with Benavidez at 168 to do that with Canelo. No, I'm not going to bother with that. Soon as he's up at light heavyweight, it's a different champion. Boom, mandatory. Having said that, as I said, I like the fight. I think it's very, very good. Turki Al-Sheikh was kind of hinting or saying certainly last week, the opposite. And again, he hasn't commented on this fight yet. They're talking about PBC and Matchroom, no mention of the Saudis. But Turkey, I think, really was keen on getting this trilogy fight over the line, and I can see why he'd want to do that, because Beterbiev now, even in that rematch, he did appear to at times just slow down a little bit, and maybe he was feeling his age in that fight. And again, the longer you kick the can down the road for a trilogy fight, the older it's going to be on Beterbiev. The longer they leave this, the more in Dmitry Bivol's favour it is, the trilogy fight anyway with Beterbiev. Unless, of course, maybe they get Beterbiev out on his undercard or something like that, I don't know. But the longer they leave it, the more I think it favours Dmitry Bivol. A fight like this, it's a great fight. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about the fight. I just think that's the reason why I'm just kind of a bit confused as to why they're not going straight into a trilogy fight. And I do wonder if with Turkey, I believe with Benavidez, he went out to the last crescendo. He actually wasn't there for the main event. Apparently his flight was on literally during the main event, so you had to go to the airport and get a flight home, which is a bit strange. You travel all the way over there, you'd not stay for the main event when you're mandatory. But anyhow, that's what's apparently going to happen this summer. So PBC, who I think now, I mean, that ship has sailed with PBC. They try and keep it in-house. You can't keep this kind of stuff in-house anymore. You've got barely any fighters to keep things in-house. So they're talking about doing that in association, co-promotion with Matchroom. Yeah, I would imagine it would be on the zone, which would mean then that it's obviously Matchroom. They could do it in the States. They could do it in Saudi. I would imagine that Turkey would get involved with that and look to do it on a Ring Magazine show, because it's TKO are their kind of own shows now, like Canelo Crawford, a couple of them a year. They have the Riyadh season shows, which are in Saudi Arabia, and the Ring Magazine for everything else. I would imagine they'd look to do that as maybe a Ring Magazine show somewhere in the States or somewhere like that, possibly anyway. So, or they're, actually, could you imagine? Nah, they wouldn't. I was going to say, could they do it on Canelo's undercard, but that's way in September. But that's way too long. They're talking about the summer. That's not going to happen. So yeah, that's the situation. Bivol versus Benavidez. Apparently, they are going to get that fight finalized. Eddie Hearn, PBC. They're going to be able to do that together. What platform, what network will it be on? We'll wait and see. You'd imagine the zone, but look, we'll wait and see on that one. What will the Saudis, what will Turkey on a Sheikh say to this? And is this the WBC? Because obviously, Turkey has talked about with this whole TKO venture of, not him per se, Dana White was the one who alluded to it originally, making the sanctioning bodies, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially irrelevant. And I wonder, is this Suleiman? Because Suleiman, I've said long about Mauricio Suleiman, he has that main character syndrome where he has to be the center of attention, he has to be in everything that's happening. And I wonder, is this him just trying to say, well, look, we're still around and look what we can do, TKO, Turkey can do this, that, and the other, but we're still around, this, that, and the other. Because you get the impression that, in particular with him, with the others, but with him in particular, Suleiman, that if TKO, Turkey, Dana, they're all doing their own thing, they're promoting the Ring Magazine title as the world title, they're doing their own shows on their own, on the zone or whatever, and the WBC aren't involved, that would absolutely kill someone who's as egotistical and just awful Mauricio Suleiman. He is just we know what Suleiman is like. So let me know your thoughts on all that in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. And until next time, until later. Peace.